Catcher in the Rye. The last 12 chapters of The Catcher in the Rye take place at the hotel Holden is staying at. The next day, Holden leaves his hotel, makes a date with an old friend named Sally, and meets two nuns while he's having breakfast. After he leaves, he buys a record for his little sister Phoebe, and overhears a boy singing "If a Body Catch a Body" coming through the rye, which changed his mood from depressed to happy, oddly. He meets Sally for a phony matinee show and then goes skating with her. After he scares her away, Holden calls up an old acquaintance from school, Carl Luce, and arranges to meet him for drinks. At the bar, Carl takes the annoying "I'm so mature" attitude, so the night ends early. Well, it ends early for Carl. Holden stays alone at the bar and drinks himself into fuzzy oblivion. After trying to make a date with the coat check girl, he goes to the park to look for the ducks. Seeing no ducks, he heads home to visit his little sister Phoebe. After visiting, Holden leaves home to avoid his parents and visits an old teacher, Mr. Antolini. He gets another long lecture on the importance of education and experience what may be a sexual come on from his former teacher. Holden bolts and reveals that perverty stuff like that has happened to him quite often. He spends the night in the train station and gets even more depressed. He goes to Phoebe again and they go to the zoo. They end up at the carousel, where Holden promises Phoebe that he won't run away. As he watches her go around and around on the carousel, he declares he's happy, which is the first time we've heard him say that in the novel. Three themes that are portrayed throughout the novel are innocence, youth, and isolation. For innocence, Holden is an adolescent obsessed with saving children from the dirtiness he sees in the adult world. The novel deals with innocence in many forms, but focuses often on the sexual, because Holden sees sex in any form as dirty. He feels the need to sequester children and himself somewhat from it, instead of easing into it as a natural step of becoming an adult. The quote that goes along with that is, "Most guys at Penn C just talked about having sexual intercourse with girls all the time, like Ackley for instance. But old Stradlater really did it. I was personally acquainted with at least 2 girls he gave the time to. That's the truth." Solinger, page 48. Holden's innocence is highlighted by the contrasting experience of those around him. Youth. The Catcher in the Rye presents a clear distinction between the world of children and that of adults. Children are genuine, caring, and kind-hearted, whereas adults are phony, self-centered, and generally bastards. Because the story is told from the point of view of a disillusioned 17-year-old, we of course have to challenge the bias inherent in this perspective. The novel examines the gray area between these two worlds, namely adolescence, and the painful process of transitioning from one to the other. The quote that goes along with this theme is, "Boy," I said. I also say boy quite a lot, partly because I have a lousy vocabulary, partly because I act quite young for my age sometimes. I was 16 then, and I'm 17 now, and sometimes I act like I'm 13. It's really ironic because I'm 6'2½", and I have gray hair. I really do. The one side of my head, the right side, is full of millions of gray hairs. I've had them ever since I was a kid, but yet I still act sometimes like I was only about 12, Solinger 9. The last theme portrayed throughout the novel is isolation. Isolation in The Catcher in the Rye refers to the personal, social, and mental isolation of one individual, 17-year-old Holden Caulfield. The novel explores the tension between the desire to observe, judge, and alienate with the need to meet, converse, and connect. We constantly see the desire to reach out, followed by hesitation and passivity. A quote showing this: "The first thing I did when I got off at Penn Station, I went into the phone booth. I felt like giving somebody a buzz, but as soon as I was inside, I couldn't think of anybody to call up. My brother DB was in Hollywood. My kid sister Phoebe was out. Then I thought of giving Jane Gallagher's mother a buzz. Then I thought about calling this girl, Sally Hayes. I thought of calling Carl Luce. So I ended up not calling anybody. I came out of the booth after about 20 minutes or so." Solinger 59. Holden is clearly trying to reach out to someone, but is for one reason or another unable to do so. His hesitation keeps him in this isolation.